Marty, hello.
How are you doing today, sir?
Excellent. How about you?
Man, if I was any better, I couldn't stand it. You
Well,
out
I hope that no sarcasm there.
there? No, not at all. I
Uh,
just got back. I don't know if you saw my I don't know if I put it on my many emails back and forth, but I just got back from Western States.
yes, that's excellent.
I went out and I wish I ran it, but I I haven't got into there yet. I just got my first ticket. This will be in this year's drawing, and so maybe next year I'll get lucky, but or soon enough.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's yeah, it's quite a legendary race, and it seems like every ultra runner wants to run it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
it's kind of funny. I personally I've been running ultras for 27 years, and I've never run the race. So I think I'm like one of the longest running ultra runners who has not run the race.
yeah, that
But
was part
I only
of
started
my
applying
question.
2 years ago.
You
So
did
I
start
think
applying?
maybe in like another 10 years or something, I'll be able to. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Well, I met a bunch of people this weekend that were first timers, one ticket. And so it can happen.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's funny though. My second ever guest on this podcast was a guy last year that got in with one ticket. And you'll know by talking to me that I'm very passionate about ultra running, but this guy, he had no passion at all. He was like pulling teeth to get him just to talk about it, the
No
experience.
way. That's so funny.
I spent like 12 hours editing out silence in between every word with him.
Uh, that's quite that's funny.
Yeah.
But it gives you appreciation.
Right.
It gives you appreciation of just the variety of characters and all the types of people you can come across. It's quite nice.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot from that. I learned this old wise guy told me that has been doing podcasts for a long time. He said, it's always good to kind of have a conversation with them before you ever start. And if you realize they can't talk, it's okay to go ahead and say, look, let's put this off. It's not going to work out. It's your podcast. You can do that. That's what
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, how about that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna cut my camera off just so the audio quality will be a little better through the Wi-Fi.
Uh,
And
okay.
you can too if you want to, or you can leave it on. Are you on?
You want me? You said cut off the what?
You can leave it on or cut it off. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you just using a cell signal?
I hold on a second. Let me check that. Which would you prefer?
Well, when you were walking, it was a little shaky, but since you stopped,
Okay, I can put on Wi-Fi right now. Let's see how that is.
okay.
Is that does that seem better or not so much?
Yeah, since you stopped walking, it sounds fine now.
Okay.
Maybe you were had a sketchy signal for a second
Yeah, it might be that. Yeah, that might be it.
because it sounds
Yeah.
good.
Now, Marty? Where are you based?
I'm in Macon, Georgia,
Okay, then. How about that?
and you're in Cincinnati or Cleveland.
Well, I live in Cincinnati half the time, and then out in a town called Circleville the other half of the time. So right
Okay.
now I'm in Circleville.
So
It's
the school is in Cincinnati.
yeah. So school is summer holiday, and so I have more opportunity to go all over the place.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
my friend Jeff Harmon really enjoys your podcast.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that. I'm glad he does. I'm still learning. Actually, what's today? Is today the tomorrow actually makes the 1 year anniversary of the podcast.
Oh wow! How
And so
about that?
you will be episode 46. And
How
so
about that?
I've learned a lot and
That's fun.
and I really enjoy it because I have, I was kind of similar to you. I started out with road marathons,
Yeah.
but COVID, I started late. I started in 2018 was my first marathon. I was 52 at the time.
That's amazing. Yeah.
The year before that, I was a year and a half before that, I was 285 pounds, and decided to start trying to lose weight. And I started walking and treadmill, and then elliptical, and then I got into running, and then it was 5K, half marathon.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you my picture. Can you see me good?
Yes.
I'll try to show you this picture on the screen there. You see that? Can you see that picture?
And that's so crazy.
But anyway.
How did you find out about running? Like, how did you even consider it?
Well, my mother had Alzheimer's. She died of Alzheimer's in 2019, but she, was diagnosed back about 2013, 2014. And a friend of mine told me that in the next town over, they had a 5K that was a fundraiser for Alzheimer's Association. And so I signed up for that and went over there and walked it at 280. And I literally got passed by a little old lady with a cane. And so I made a vow there that I was going to go back the next year and run that race and beat that lady.
What age were you when you did that first one?
So I was probably 51. That was 2016 when I walked it, and I started running. In that year, like the next week, I started trying to run.
But that's a real neat thing to celebrate.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And then when COVID hit, and all the road races were pretty much canceled, and my wife and I both got sick that week that the world shut down. And so all I did was watch like YouTube videos of Western States and hard rock and all of the Billy Yang videos and Air Vipa videos. And so I got into trail running and ultras, and I did my first ultra in September or October of 2020 up in Blue Ridge, Georgia. So very close to the Appalachian Trail there where your movie.
Yeah, that's so wild. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
Oh yeah, I watched it on the flight out to Western States, and oh man, I cried. I was sitting there crying and the guy next to me on the plane was looking at me like,
oh, hey, I love that.
Yeah, because I mean, the relationship with your dad, my dad was an alcoholic, and he died when I was, I guess, about 20 years ago. And so I never, I have a stepfather, but he and I never really had that close relationship. And I got to thinking about how, it's kind of too late for me and him to do something bonding like that, because, he don't get around. He's in his 80s and he don't get around very well, but I was really appreciating, your relationship with your dad, and, being able to do that. That was really awesome.
Well, thank you so much. That's a real moving to hear that. And man, your story is something else like that. That's a story that all America needs to hear.
Yeah. Well, I just talked to my friends. I think have you been on the Marathon Training Academy podcast?
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that.
Trevor and Angie.
Yeah.
They were somebody that works with them was my first ever coach, and so I've been in that community since 2018. I don't use them for coaching anymore. I've got an ultra coach now, but I still am a part of that community, and they messaged me today wanting me to come on their podcast and tell my story, so I'll get to share it with the world through them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Speaking of the video, before we jump on and get started, there's a little saying that you say right at the beginning about the trail. You know that part I'm talking about? The trail is a place where you can go and escape all of life's challenges.
Yes.
Would it be okay to start out the podcast by playing that part, or is that against some kind of copyright thing?
Oh, no, you can do that. Yeah.
That is beautifully said. I mean, the way
you can definitely do that. No problem.
Great. Because that's one that says exactly what I would say about what the trail does for me. And I don't know if you were specifically talking about the Appalachian Trail at that point or just a trail in general. You can answer.
I was talking about trail in general.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the way I
for,
feel.
and yeah, oh shoot, did I just bump out?
Your camera froze, but I can still
Sorry
hear
about
you.
that. There we go. Okay. I may have to move inside at some point to like hook up to the to the um the charger because of the
Okay.
phone battery. I wonder if I should do that. I'm debating. Yeah, I think I better because otherwise it might run out of power and that would not be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's try that. Let's see if we can do that.
So are you leaving tomorrow to head out west?
Not tomorrow, but I am tomorrow. I'm headed down to Cincinnati to do some organizing and final preparations, and then I will be heading out west on let's see on Saturday morning.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Let's see here. Try to get this situated properly. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, we're excited. And I guess Jeff said my friend Jeff Harmon said you interviewed a couple other people associated with the race.
With which one?
Badwater.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have. One of the people that's I think it's her first time is Rachel Belmont. She was my last guest, my last episode. That you know her?
I don't think I do personally.
Okay.
Is she where she lives?
She's a first timer to run that race. She paced last year. She won her way into it by winning Badwater Cape Fear last year.
Okay. Yeah.
She lives in the Phoenix area.
Nice.
And
That's
she's
pretty
a
neat,
travel nurse. She's a real young girl. She's probably 26, but she's
nice.
a very talented runner.
How did you come across her?
She's got some roots in Florida. I live in Georgia, but a lot of my ultra running friends are in Florida, and
Yeah.
so I don't know if you remember Hot Chocolate from last year,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's running too.
Yeah. He is hilarious.
He was my
Yeah.
first. He was my first guest on this podcast. He was number
Was
one.
he really?
He was, yeah.
Well, he wasn't. He was not quiet.
No, it was lots of ooh wees. Go ooh wee.
Yeah, you had to have like that. That is definitely some living right there. You gotta have some life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was when he lives down in South Florida, but he was
Yeah.
that first race that I ever did, the Blue Ridge Ultra. It was a 50K. He was there at that, and that Florida. He is one person. A lot of people that especially from Mid and South Florida, they do mostly flat races. Now they're still hard because it gets hot, down there.
Right. Right.
But he's not afraid to go do a hilly race, and so he was up there
No,
doing that
he's
50.
done a lot of different races.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you get a chance, long haul, you'll have to come down and maybe check out long haul this year in Florida.
I'm signed up this year. Andy
Okay.
Matthews is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Andy's great. So I will probably be down there for that race. So I'll be good. I'll get to meet you then.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
When I went down there this year, to promote my podcast, and just because I love the community, if I'm not running, and I had just run the Daytona 100 like 3 weeks before that or 4 weeks before that, and that was my first ever 100, and so I was not able to run that one this year. But I went down there. I went down there and didn't have a particular job. I just set up my tent and my grill, and I cooked food for the volunteers down there.
That was nice of you.
So I had a great time. I ended up pacing a friend of mine throughout the night, ran about probably 40 miles during the night. It was freezing cold down there this year. It was like 30 degrees.
Right.
But they changed locations this coming year.
Yes. Yeah, I heard that.
And so it's more trail, I believe. I don't think there's any pavement now. So
it's kind of wild. Let's see. Is this okay for you? Like
it sounds real good.
Okay.
In the background.
Maybe it'd be nice if I could get a little more lighting. I don't know what's going on with the light in here. It must just burn. Somehow the light just burned out today. It looks
It don't look dark in there to me at all.
okay, but that's good. Well, we'll dive right in then.
Yeah, let's get the party started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Miles with Marty podcast. I have a special guest with me today, Harvey Lewis. Welcome, Harvey.
Marty, thank you so much. Excited to be with you.
Man, it's my pleasure. I just love talking about ultra running, and Lord knows you got plenty of it to talk about.
Yeah, and man, I'm just really love your story. So yeah, it's great to connect.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, I was, as we talked about before we came on, I just got a chance to watch your awesome movie. With Amazon, the great thing about it is, I think, I forgot what the price was. They give you like a price to rent it or to buy it, and it's only like $2 different. So I bought that sucker so I can watch it over and over again. But I watched it on my flight out to Western States, and man, I just loved it. And I'm going to put a link, if there's a way that I could share a link in the show notes where people can go and get that, because it's a must watch. I mean, it was just great movie. It was a great movie.
Oh, sure, definitely. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to hear you say that.
Yeah, I've got a good friend. Her name is Tina Wolf, that is from Ohio, and you are like her favorite runner. And as soon as my plane landed, I texted her and said, "You have got to watch the Harvey Lewis movie because it's great."
Oh man!
And so I'm sure she has now. I haven't heard back from her, but I'm sure she has.
That's great. Well, Tina, yeah, I'll have to get down there and see you guys in Georgia or Florida, in the year ahead. So
yeah. Well, she will be she's actually running long haul this year too. So, and that will be her first 100-miler.
Oh, that's exciting. Well,
yeah.
I know Kelly and I would love to come back in January and run Andy's race. It's one of the best places to get away, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it won't be cold this year. It was freezing cold in the last one. I mean, it was like down in the 30s, and in Florida, that's like below zero.
Yeah. It's really kind of funny to watch the reaction of people down there when it gets down to that temperature.
Yeah. If it gets below 60, they're wearing parkas down there,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I know. I've seen that before. Sorry, that's my running partner. There is like a sounding alarm.
Okay. Well, if you need to go shoot a burglar or something.
Yeah. But
so anyway, because I'm a huge fan, Harvey, and most people are, but I do have a lot of people that are new to the ultra running, and I've got this one friend named Jim who listens to all. He actually is my running buddy. We just did a partner race down in Miami back a couple of weeks ago. There's a race called the Miami 50-50 where it's kind of like Salton Sea, where you have to run with a partner.
Yeah. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and you do it like a scavenger hunt, kind of like, have you heard of the Great New York Expo race?
No, I don't think I have actually.
Okay, so it's 100-miler inside of New York City, and they give you like direction cards to find your way to your checkpoints. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. It's not designed to be hard to find your way. It's clear-cut directions, but it's urban, and so you just go 2 blocks and hang a ride on 21st Street, and that kind of thing. But it's really fun because you have to focus on your directions.
Isn't a Miami 100 is sort of that way as well?
Yeah, it's the same race director. This one is just a 50-50. The 100 is in September.
Right. Yeah, no, that sounds really nice, like to be teamed up with someone.
Yeah. But anyway, so my buddy Jim that we ran that with, he's not a person that knows famous ultra runners, you know what I mean? But he runs a lot. And so he loves my shit podcast because he gets to know all these people. He's not he's not like a huge fan that gets online and reads all the Instagram and all that stuff. So it's for those kind of people, just give us, and you talked a little bit about it in your movie, and I don't want to give that away, but I know you talked about your first race and what got you into running. If you'll just give us a little quick cliff notes of what got you started, that would be cool.
Definitely. You know, it was just like a sort of a whim type of experience where I like was looking for something to challenge myself with, and I lived in Minnesota. Like there were no mountains to climb. There was I didn't have the resources to go fly away somewhere, and I thought in my mind I had been exposed to like this 24-hour race, and I thought, well, geez, this would be something really special to experience. Like for some odd reason, I thought it'd be fun to go after. And the thing about ultra running so neat is like we don't think about everyone is like an equal. There's no such thing as like it's just like a very welcoming community and a very down to earth. And like that's so I got that exposure the first race I did, and it really has been that way ever since. And so it drew me in, and I was really taken aback by like the exploring yourself. Like so I really like the element of exploring where our mind goes when we're in these difficult places, or pushing in like things that are seem to be like inconceivable to like the general population, and like how you very much can do things beyond what are the conventions. And so I remember in that particular race I like had a goal of just keeping moving the whole time. And I remember just being so elated, like the last 45 minutes of the race, I was able to like run like faster than I had the whole race. And I mean, it just was a real high. And that like just kind of cascaded into more motivation to do another one. And then it just I was never back in the 90s. There weren't a lot of ultras. So I mean it's kind of remarkable, but the number of ultras in our country is like increased like maybe 15 or 20 fold.
Oh yeah.
So back then, like I only honestly did like 2 races a year because I was a poor college student, but that's also like what was available. We had like a 50K race. And I mean, there were a couple others up in that time period in Minnesota, but like I just did like the ones that weren't that far from the Twin Cities. So yeah, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
Now
But
you did the flying pig as like a teenager though, didn't you? Or
actually it was Cleveland. I did the Cleveland back then Revco Marathon.
oh,
And
okay.
I have been doing the Flying Pig for 25 years, but the Cleveland Marathon was my first race. I did that
Okay.
when I was like 15.
15.
And 15, just jumped in. I wasn't much of a runner at the time, but like I had come up with it. I had seen it like on TV, and it just got my curiosity. And I was like, I told my mom, yeah, I want to go down and run the marathon. And yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. So somehow I managed to survive in like 5 hours something, but it was like definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, didn't I hear you say somewhere that it took you several years to break 5 hours?
Yes, yeah. It actually took me 5 years to break 5 hours, and I'm gonna move outside because apparently Carly is she's really worked up. Carly is my fearless running partner here. She's
Yeah,
a rescue dog, and she might not look like much, but she's got a lot of energy.
that's usually the
So
best kind.
let's see. Can you hear me still?
Yep, sounds good.
Uh, Somehow I got cut out of the sound there.
Can you
Sorry
hear me?
about that. Hey, Carly, come on. All right, let's retry that. Marty, we may have to let
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
not hear me?
that is so strange. For some reason, it cut out your audio.
Huh.
Here, we're gonna reset. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
You're gonna have to edit that little part.
I've learned how to do that. I'm good at that.
Let's roll back to the question. So, you were asking about uh the marathon, or
About getting under 5 hours.
yeah. So it did take me 5 years to break the 5 hour barrier for myself. And like honestly, back then I never really imagined like I could run, 4 hours in a marathon, or like 3.5 hours, or
Yeah.
3 hours. It just hadn't like I never had a coach or anything like that. I just kept on running at the wall and try to chisel away. And so yeah, it's kind of it's a wild ride for me, because I entered this running thing like where I was in the very back of the group, and it was a long time back then. And then it just gradually over years, just climbing and clawing, and then to win races now. And I imagine eventually one day I'll be back to the back of the group again. So it's all right. It's when I'm running with my buddy Mike Fremont, he's 101, and he's the fastest person in the world that's 101, but we're in the back of the group, the 5K group. So
Yeah.
it's just part of life cycles.
Yep. Yeah, he's a huge inspiration. I've seen him on your Instagram. He's still doing chin-ups too, right?
Yeah, he is something quite amazing like that.
Yeah. So what was the thing that turned you around in the speed category? Did you get a coach, or did you just figure something out with yourself, or just kept working harder?
Well, yeah, I've never had a coach ever, and
Huh.
so it's all been like self-coached. I do have yeah, I mean, I just like little steps. Nothing like came overnight. But nutrition was a big element. Like I changed my nutrition. That was a big element. Like I went to being vegetarian, and then I actually had a big bump forward with that. And then just I broke my neck too. That was another one. So in 2004, I broke my neck. That kind of catapulted my mindset to being more driven with it. And so I think that was another element. And then just the experiences along the journey, like all these different races that we've run. I just ran my 100th ultra in Australia.
Wow.
So that was the Dead Cow Golly Masters Championship.
Yeah.
And that's kind of wild to see it go from like through all those races. There was one of my family relatives by marriage, who's Australian, Sam, came out to the race. He lives in Brisbane now. And it was kind of wild because I didn't even realize it, but he was at my first race in the Twin Cities, and then
Wow.
he was at my 100th race. So that was kind of neat for him to see too, because he had seen me like back when I did my first race, and I'm just trying to survive, and I'm dying to like now the 100th race where I'm like, I got a new American record, and it's like, what happened? Like, it's like this has been like 27 years, and you're still like doing this stuff.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
one. So that one ended up with what, 375? How many miles did you end up with at that one?
Yeah, it was 375 miles.
Yeah. And then the first two places, they ended up going what, another 10 yards or something like that, or 9 or
That's
10?
right. So Sam Harvey matched the Belgium record of 101 yards, and then Phil Gore got the new world record of 102 yards, which is like 425 miles.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really amazing. They were really fun to run with. They the whole group was amazing to run with out there. We had 4 nationalities. We had one American and one South African cricket player. In fact, it's kind of amazing because he's a professional cricket player, and then he dabbles in this back ultra stuff. So it's kind of fun to see that. It's just and then we had Kiwis and Aussies there. So the race director was just amazing. Tim Walsh, he put a ton of passion into it. And I mean, there are race directors out there, so many different race directors I've come across, and really wonderful race directors, but there's a real small set of them that just go the extra yard to do everything you can imagine, so he just did everything you could imagine to make that event successful.
Yeah. So it seems like and I've met some of those race directors, and you're right. I mean, it makes you want to go back and be a part of those races every year. And which gets back, if you're like me and you want to do all the races, that makes that hard, especially if they're like 100 milers or more than that even.
Right.
So you've kind of found a niche in something that you're really good at with these backyard style races. And so what does it take to be good at that? Is it about tolerating pain, or is it about the fuel, or is it all of the above? Like, I know one thing is you got to be fast enough to get done to where you can do the stuff, like take care of your feet and get some calories and all that. So what is it that makes you so good at those kind of races?
Well, I like to be very diversified, and I think that that's part of it. I've been on the 24-hour USA team for 12 years. I've done the Badwater race and been really successful, winning that twice. I've done a lot of trail ultras, Superior 100 to Mohican 100, and I do really well in those two. So I feel like that the backyard is kind of set up that if you're a really strong trail runner, but you don't like the road, it's going to be really difficult. If you're a really strong road runner, but you don't like trails, it's going to be really difficult. So if you're someone who enjoys multiple, anything that's thrown at you, hot, cold, long, then you can adapt. And I mean, anyone can adapt to these type of things. But I think that, my diversity is an asset for the race. And then I also I like strategy. I really love the strategy element. And I sort of excel in races where there's a large mental component in the race. So like a 50K race where it's just all out speed. I mean, I'm pretty fast in a regional sense, but when it comes down to Walmsley and I mean, Walmsley's going to destroy me in a 50K race. But if it's a backyard format, Walmsley's going to be his for some long, long days.
It's gonna be more than a 24-hour, right?
Long days, and my body doesn't break down very easily. It's that's another thing I've been very successful with is, it's fortunately, knock on wood, but I've been very fortunate to not have major injuries, and so that's another thing that does really well in the backyard. The nutrition, I eat all plant-based foods, and to be honest with you, there's an advantage with that too in the backyard format because your body processes the foods quicker and you have less inflammation. So there's some advantages with the food as well. Yeah, I just like it. I mean, I think if you like something, you're going to do better in it too. Yeah. So I enjoy the challenge. I like the camaraderie. I like you get to hang out with everyone the first, laps and days. First day, everyone's hanging out. And then it gets more competitive as you're going. And you have these mind games with each other. And then sometimes you have collaborating. It's kind of like Survivor. There's Survivor. You're like, what's gonna happen next? And that's a fun aspect. Like Laz did a great job of inventing this like format. It's like it's exciting because anybody can win. Like we have this world championship is coming in October, and it's gonna be a total like battle royale. There's gonna be like 65 people coming who have all won or been champions of their own country in the backyard ultra. So everyone's coming with the intention of winning. so that puts that's really challenging. It's like you're gonna have maybe day 3, there's gonna be like 12 people left, and everyone still wants to survive and be like, the final person. So it's like you really have to like deal with like a lot of pressure in order to like continue and work through and like come up with surviving everyone.
Yeah. So now, is it a standard with those races now that the daytime they're on trails and after dark they're on road?
Well, that's really the standard. Like that's the tradition that was established at Big's backyard. So, but to be honest with you, Laz has created it in such a way to make it like so that people can do this race anywhere in the world. So like our number one goal is to like expand to have more people be able to participate. And it's not like the Ironman where you have to pay $10,000. Sorry, Ironman. But like, like people can start this race in their backyard in Bangladesh or, like anywhere like Luxembourg to, Oman. Like there's like, anyone can start one of these races and there's not like a financial element that causes a barrier. So you don't have to pay into like a agency or Laz or anything like that. So it's really phenomenal because people can start this and we've seen it like there's over like 60 countries that people are running these in and tens of thousands of people run it now. So it's great in that sense. And the in those a lot of the other countries that have had it, they'll just have like a simple loop that they do the whole time. But whenever I talk to people about it who are race directors, I try to encourage them to do 12 hours or 11 hours on the trail and 12 or 13 hours on the road, because that simulates what Laz had originally created. And that's also like they're preparing to do the world championship. So I feel like it's not the same to like do the same exact loop as it is to do the alternating loop, because that's the whole principle of like the tradition behind the race. So like talk to Sarah Smith, who has done an amazing job with Capital, and like she's formatted it now so she has I believe they have like the trail now in the day and then the road at night. And they went over 300 miles with Scott and Jen Russo. And like with the Australian race, I told them that I wasn't going to come unless they did like the format where they did 12 hours in a day on the trail and 12 hours on the road. And I know some people weren't so thrilled about that because they didn't like running on the road. But on the other hand, it like was great preparation for everyone there that wants to do bigs, because it's preparing them for like what the reality is. And yeah, so I kind of like I feel like that for like the world record too, I feel like that from my perspective, I kind of feel like it should have like the trail and the road. Like I know like the Germans or the Alex, the race director of the German race, they did just one style loop the whole way, like going back to one of the world records that was established, I believe, in time. And I mean, it's fine if that happens that way, but I just think that like the tradition is more the trail for 12 hours and the road for 12 hours, or it could be like a variation of that, like 11 and 13. Yeah. But I think that's more like that's more in line with the tradition of like the race. But yeah.
Cool. So speaking of Laz, then so you've also done Barclays a couple times, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've done Barkley a couple times, and I still have to work on that one.
Yeah, I talked to John Kelly back about a couple weeks after that one, and something that you said about strategy, and I just talked to Bob Hearn last night actually, and it seems to me that a lot of really successful ultra runners and things like where you have to have put some thinking into it are super smart like that, and
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, it's true. Like, especially Barkley, like you have to be completely alert, and like you have to be thinking nonstop. So I mean, like in so many imagine how many ultras we've seen where we've been there before too, where like people are like getting dehydrated and they're kind of slurring their words, and it's
yeah,
like they're facing some sort of elements where it's hot or cold, or they're just like fatigued. And the thing is like with Barkley, you cannot afford to like not be like have your brain processing at 100% capacity. It's like, I mean, it's gonna be pushed, but the thing is you have to like be constantly not only monitoring things you would normally monitor in a race, like, okay, how am I doing on my nutrition, how am I doing on my pace, but you have to constantly be like, navigating, thinking there's a lot of like elements that involved with like the difficulty of like running at nighttime and in down on no you're not on trails, so it's trying not to crash. It's quite an experience, and yeah, I still haven't mastered it yet, so I need to like follow John Kelly more around, I guess.
yeah. So not mastering it, does that make you want to continue to do that and try to do it, or do you get to a point where you say, "A man's got to know his limitations," and I found that I'm better at the backyard format
Yeah,
or headwater?
I'm stubborn, like, so I still like learn in areas I'm not as strong in. That's okay. Like, I think it's good to like keep trying to get better.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know if I have another shot at doing Barkley in the next year or two or three or whatever, but because it's very hard to get in the race. I mean, I literally get emails at least once a month or messages once a month from other people asking how to get in the race from planet. So, it's like I'm just one of the contestants in the. So it's amazing, like that race is really something that is a puzzle. So I like the mental aspect of the race. So
Yeah. And then lastly, and you've done the strolling gym. That's his Laz's. Now, what about the longer ones, Hots and Ball State? Have you ever had any desire to do either of those?
yeah, I think it would be interesting, like definitely to do one of those races. It's mainly like I just have so many things I'm involved with, and it's like everything, right? So did you just have Bob Hearn on talking
Yeah,
about
talking
okay,
about Hots.
Vol State and Hots? Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So, yeah, I think it's a race I would love to do one day. But I always do Badwater every year, so like that's like a streak I have, and it's kind of like an annual pilgrimage returning to the desert. I really love it. So that's yeah, that date's always occupied. And then I take people on running and hiking holidays to Portugal with a small business I created called Run Quest. So I often take people in June or July. So that kind of interferes with that too.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I would like to do it sometime.
So, Bob just told me that there's a new one that he is creating, that Laz is creating, called the Circle of Hell or something like that. Have you heard about that one?
No, Lance hasn't told me about that one yet.
So it's supposed to be, I think, in August, and it's supposed to be more elevation than the other two, and so a
So
similar distance, but more elevation. So maybe,
he's always scheming to come up with something, but his big now is he's planning to go across the country again.
yeah,
So that's he's gonna have to put some of these races on the back burner, but I don't know. Laz loves it, so it's like,
Yeah. So you did mention Badwater, so let's just jump right into that. And so you said you've won it a couple of times, and you've top 5 many more times other than that. So for an Ohio/Minnesota guy, does it get really well? It's not. I mean, is it humid up there in the summertime in Ohio?
I'm not the same kind of humidity you guys got in Georgia, but yeah, it gets definitely warm. In fact, it's Ohio can be pretty humid and hot.
Yeah. So
And,
what do you do to acclimate? Do you do sauna stuff, or you run with
well,
lots of clothes on?
yeah, I usually will do a variation of things. Like it kind of depends on the year. This year I just got back from like Queensland, Australia, like a week ago, less than a week ago. So I've actually been like in that race I did there was like so hot in the daytime we had ice, and then at
Okay.
nighttime freezing. It was so crazy. At like this 40-degree temperature swing. It was nuts. But so I got a little heat training down there for half the day in Queensland. But yeah, all this week I've been going to a sauna, and I just love the heat. Like I just would like go to the sauna like on a typical like a few times a month, like throughout the year. So I kind of keep my body always like heat adjusted. And but like in the early days, I would wear a lot of clothing and go out and run for like 40 minutes or something like that. And the neighbors thought like that I really lost it because I winter coats and like crazy stuff. Yeah, it's important to build up to that stuff. Like heat is dangerous. Like uh, for people like but yeah, it's something I've always been fascinated with the desert, and especially like Death Valley is like an exotic terrain. It's my buddy Jeff Harmon, who actually is the one that suggested that we connect, who's one of your avid like followers on your podcast. He did the Badwater race just recently as well, and he was on my team, so it's kind of neat because I've had people on my team like Jeff over the last 11 years who have then gone on and run the race themselves. There's another guy who's going to be running this year from Cincinnati, Eric Hunziker, and he was on my team before. He's now run the race several times. So it's kind of neat to see like all these people that we've been involved with, and then there's people I also just see every year there. So there's not many races I do that I do them every year, but Badwater is one of those I just enjoy the draw to it every year.
Yeah. Now didn't your fiance do it last year for the first time?
She did. Yeah, she was it was quite amazing because she was attacking it from the opposite end. Like I mean, she was just barely she was in several cases she was the last person to make the cutoff. So it was very stressful. And like for me, it was stressful. I was really nervous that it didn't. It doesn't matter to me if she finishes or not finishes, other than the fact that I want her to be happy and enjoy herself. But I was concerned about how she's doing, and so like I would get relayed messages, and I was really just it was such a really amazing experience to like go out and see her with about 20 miles, 25 miles to go. And then to see her again when she was going through Lone Pine with about 12 miles to go. And then see her one more time as we drove past to like go up to the finish line and see her. So that was like a really neat experience to see her push through all that difficulty. And like, I was really proud of her efforts.
Cool. So long haul is one of those that you've done multiple times too. It's like you had a long stretch of just about every year, right?
Yeah, this last year I ended up doing another really nice Florida race, which was in the woods 30A, 50K. And also I feel like we had Kelly was in a reality show. So that's it. So we haven't exactly, she hasn't gotten to the point where she can announce what that reality show was. I think it's gonna come out in like November. But due to that reality show, we weren't able to like go down to do the long haul race in January.
Okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be kind of neat when she can share. Is a big thing.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, the race directors for my first ultra, the Lenningers, who do that one, the Blue Ridge Ultra I was talking about, they did a reality show up in Alaska called Race to Survive, and that was
Ah,
really cool. Kind of like orienteering, and it had what do you call it, bushwhacking and rowing and all kind of stuff. So
it sounds like some good Barkley training.
yeah, exactly.
The guy who, my first Barkley race I did, I tagged on to Greg Hamilton, who is a Kiwi, and he is the world champion of Rogaine, like which is this adventure where you find your way. And I met him the day before the race, and I was just immediately like, the guy is really likable. And I also knew, like, as a virgin coming into that race, you really want to like find a veteran, and he is just like has an incredible mind. That guy could find like a pin needle like up 2 miles away and hit it within a meter. I mean,
Wow.
it's so impressive just going to direct a tangent. But amongst the giant amount of gear that he brought, which Sarah Smith was the crew member, was a raft. I was like, we were trying to think, okay, this man is so prepared for this race. He's prepared for the like a Armageddon like storm where it's rivers are so giant that you can't go across them, that you have to get in your raft. That's how serious this man was about finishing the Barkley.
Wow.
He made it the farthest that year with Carl Sabo, but yeah, he definitely is in his cars if he wants to. He could do that race one day.
Yeah,
But you never know, I need that raft.
I hear you. Yeah, at Western States this weekend, that river that they crossed was so deep that they had to go across in a raft. The American.
Right. So tell me, what was your favorite part about Western States?
Oh man, it would have to. Well, I got to do. I volunteered with medical at mile 55.7, which is Michigan Bluff, and before the runners arrived, I got there very early, so I was able to go out and run on the trail. Like I had an hour to spare, so I ran like a mile and a half, 2 miles out and back. And so, one, to be able to run on that trail, I mean, it's a beautiful trail, although that particular section had gotten burned back in September of last year. So, being able to run the trail, and then, what's very fulfilling is to be able to help some. We had several people come into our medical tent that were did not look good. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a pretty good climb that you're coming in to get into that aid station. It's about 1,000 feet and 2 miles.
Mm.
So it's a decent climb, not the hardest in that race, but a decent climb, and it's after 50 miles. So the elites were just kind of flying by, no big deal to them. But the middle and back of the packers, you could tell that they had been working, and there were several that came into our med tent that were hurting, what their feet were trashed or were cramping really bad. And so there was this one particular guy that came in there, and was having leg cramps, and I rubbed some cramp cream on his legs for him, and we gave him pep talks, and I don't know if have you met Andy Jones Wilkins before? AJW. So
Yes.
anyway, he was hanging out at that aid station, and he came over. He has a real, he demands respect there because he's wearing this silver 10-year buckle, which means you finished that race 10 times under 24 hours. So that commands respect there. And so he comes over there wearing his silver buckle, and he said, "Now get your ass up out of this chair and let's go to walking down the trail." You know what I mean? And so this guy, when he left our med tent, his lip was quivering, it's like
Mm.
you could tell he was in bad shape. He was hurting, but he started walking, and I saw him finish in the golden hour, because after
Mm.
my job was done, I was able to go to the finish line. and that golden hour, that last hour, which is the people
Yeah,
similar to me that are out there fighting, for
that
20.
would be exciting.
And so to see him come across that line after I had, I didn't believe he would finish. It's so fulfilling to know that you played a small part in helping him get there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so,
so nice. I think that would probably be my favorite part of that race is that, golden hour.
yeah. And
It,
what's so cool there, and it happens a lot of races, but all of the people in the front, were there to watch that last hour, to see those people come across and cheer them. The girl who finished last, she finished with like 20 seconds left to go in the hour, and she was treated as well as Courtney was treated for setting the course
I
record.
love that. Yeah, that's great. Now, is your background in something medical?
No, not at all. I actually, I manage a tile and stone store here in my hometown.
I love tiles and stones.
So,
That's
but anyway, one of my guests about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, and I had no clue she was even affiliated with Western States. She's a foot care expert. Her name is Tanya Olson. She
okay.
actually co-wrote the book "Fixing Your Feet" with John Von Hoff.
Yes, I've met her, I believe, out in Death Valley.
So anyway, I interviewed her about, foot care and all, and she told me, she got to talk. She this year made her 15th year out there to fix feet. And she said, yeah, I would love to have some help out there, with so many people coming there at one time. I said, I
Hmm.
would gladly, because I love volunteering at races is every bit as fulfilling as running them. And you can't run every race. And so, yeah, I said I would gladly come out there on my own dime just to be able to be there. And so I
It's
did. And
very
so
nice.
I learned a lot from her. I learned, she don't keep it like a trade secret. She's very teaching, of it and sharing it, her knowledge, and she wants everybody to succeed. And that's the cool thing about medical volunteers is a lot of us ultra runners try to avoid that medical tent because we're scared to death. They're going to tell us we need to drop.
Right,
And so I got to see firsthand that it's not that at all. It's the exact opposite of that. They want to do anything they can to get your butt out of that tent and get you back on that trail, and to keep you in the race. And
right.
that's inspiring. I really love that.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So enough about me. We're supposed to be talking about you, but I'm always so the last thing really that I really wanted to spend some time on and is your film that you did. I don't know if you call it a movie or documentary or whatever about the Appalachian Trail. I know we don't want to give away any of the good stuff, but just talk about the concept. Now, was this actually filmed? Was that 2022? Was that last year when you all did that?
No, believe it or not, it actually was filmed in 2018.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yes, that's right. So, the it just was like it definitely. I'm so grateful to have it It's it captured just a extraordinary adventure with my father. Something that it's like when I see the film, I relive it, and it draws me back into the nature of the trail, the sounds, the senses, the the difficulty. It's so difficult, and also the whole culture of the Appalachian Trail. So it's it definitely yeah, I'm grateful for the experience of my father, and it's I've come across like some really nice stories, and it was great that you shared with me like when we first talked today about how you found it moving and while you were watching on the plane and I ran into a young man yesterday training in the sauna who actually I'd never met before, and Owen, and he watched it with his mother over the last weekend. And he's heading off to boot camp in the Army in 2 days from now. And like he said, it was an inspiring movie for him, like to watch before going to boot camp. And I ran into Carly and I were doing a walk last night. We ran into another guy who's walking his dog. He's like, "Hey, I watched your documentary." So I bet he's like, yeah, it really inspired him to like think about his relationship with his father and want to like do more things with his father while he can. And so, yeah, I'm grateful to hear these like connections people are making, and I just hope it inspires people to get out and like explore nature, get out and like be, enjoy movement, and also to connect with the relationships in their lives. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the part, there was a part at the end where you talk about how, when it's all said and done, uh, whether or not you get an FKT, if you're doing it for an FKT or if you're doing it for a journey, and just the experience, to have something, to set a goal on and to not really have a reward at the end, like a belt buckle, which I don't know I don't even know what you get at a backyard race, if you get a belt buckle or a shirt, a T-shirt or what, but
good. DNF from Laz.
you get a what?
A DNF from Laz.
But anyway, but just a challenge, a personal inner challenge that really has no reward other than all of that inside stuff that you talk about and describe so well, in the journey. Uh, it makes that attractive to me too, in addition to the relationship part with my stepdad. But yeah, so it made me think about what could I do, and I got to thinking about maybe I could, run across Georgia,
Yeah,
something like that. And,
that,
I'm not
awesome.
worried about, our friend Andy Matthews did an FKT down in Florida this year, right? Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah. That's pretty neat.
The lollipop thing?
Yeah. That's a long journey he made.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm not interested in the lollipop because there's too many wild animals down there,
But the
gators, snakes.
alligator is gonna get you.
I would love to do something. I definitely don't have a 2,000 plus mile Appalachian Trail, but I definitely would love to do something, like Peyote Trail or something like that. Something that's not.
I think
That's,
great.
and,
Yeah,
and I'm inspired to do it. I don't feel like I have the skills to go for an FKT, but you don't have to. Like
you
you said,
don't have to. It can be your personal FKT. You
right?
don't have to. It's like as Laz talks about it. We talk occasionally through our adventures in the past, and he talks about like journey runs. So it's like for him, it's a journey run. You know, at I mean, it's nice you have these FKTs or you have Strava or you have things like that, but it's just you can get a lot out of it by just making a route and saying, "Oh, I want to go and do this thing," and it's going to be something I've never done before, and yeah, I'm challenging myself.
Yeah,
That can be just rewarding.
yeah, definitely. So we can share a link to the movie in the show notes, and definitely want to do that. And so let's
Yeah,
see what else. What else have I not covered? I got all my little notes here. We talked about Barkley and the race. Now, one thing I noticed, I was looking at your ultra sign up, and there was a big stretch between like 99 and 06 where there was nothing. Was that when you broke your neck?
no, I basically I would only do like one race a year. Pretty much, I would do like fans 24-hour race. There was like also a 50K race called Stone Steps in Cincinnati. And I was busy. I had my son very young, so I was a young parent, and I was still doing like a couple marathons a year, but just wasn't like it was. I also dabbled in the Ironman
Oh
a
yeah,
little, yeah, a little bit with Ironman, but just yeah, a really sporadic, just doing a little bit.
yeah.
Um, and I think I got back into. I really got more into ultras in, I'd say, I went to India and I followed the like Gandhi Salt March. It was like 241 miles. I did that in like 2007, and yeah, that kind of was another thing that that just kind of led into like more ultras. And I feel like maybe it was around like 2009. I went up to Canada and I did a 100-mile race. I won that 100-mile race up in Ontario. And then I just kind of got into like more and more races. Went back into the fans race and like it was like a long dream of mine to win the race. And I finally won it, I think in like 2010. And so then that was a kind of a neat experience going from like, just finishing more towards the back of the pack to like winning that race, and then just more and more races. And like recent years, I've been getting a little carried away. like it sounds like you get carried away too, Marty. like how many races are you doing a year now?
Well, I've got 200 milers, but I've got several like 12-hour races, and I did Keys 100, and I was going to ask you about that. I did Keys 100 back in May. Then 3 weeks later, I did the 50-miler in Miami. And
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's all on pavement. So that 50-miler was a little painful the last 10 miles or so. My bottom of my feet started hurting, but and I've got a short trail race in July, toward the end of July, but I do a couple of 12-hour races in August and September. My big goal race for the rest of the year is Javelina 100 in October.
Yeah. So Kelly should be there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, I would love to come out to that one of these days.
But you're going to be, that's right at the same time as Backyard, right?
Yeah, I'll be enmeshed in the Big's backyard, and so we'll see where it goes. But last year I think I did 10 or 11 ultras, and that was the most I've done in a year. And this year I'm on track for a lot too. Like I've done, I think like 6. I've done like on average 1 a month, but I think like, I could run one every weekend if I willed myself and I had the time. But I think there is like finding a happy medium place, and like you could injure yourself if you overdo it. And I mean, also like if you want to push your level of competitiveness in terms of what your capacity is, it can be difficult to do that if you run too many. Like it's hard for you to build up and then to peak and things like that. So, but nevertheless, I'm kind of like my dog Carly here. She just can't resist the running.
So how, the Dead Cow Gully? That's what you called it, right? In New Zealand, is that what it's called?
It was in Australia, but I did go to New Zealand on the way over there, and we had a lot of trees in it.
So what day did that? How long has that been now? It's been about a week and a half, right? That it ended.
Yeah, it ended on Wednesday, and now it's like Thursday, so it's been a week and a day.
Okay, wow. And then you got exactly a week. Well, no, it starts in July.
5 days of bad water. Yeah.
So, or do you feel? Have you run? Oh, you've got a running streak, so you've been running every day, right?
Yeah, so I've run every day. I still don't know whether I'm gonna be competing to try to get the lofty goal of like trying to finish in the podium, or if I'll be competing to like try to finish last.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. If you thought you would be competitive after just 2 weeks of recovery.
Yeah, I honestly I couldn't tell you exactly. I will give my very best effort, and but I honestly couldn't tell you if I'm gonna be competing to be last or if I'm gonna be competing to be in the podium. So it's an interesting element.
So for doing all of those miles, how are your feet right now? Like, I know you're a squirrel's nut butter guy, right?
Yeah. With the skin, the outer layer is fine. I mean, I'll lose like 1 toenail. That's no big deal. But like I have like no blisters or anything like that. Now the integrity of like my body is pretty good. I have Mr. Miyagi work on me a little bit. Um, I'm a little bit more, little bit. I'm not like, like it's not like I've been peaking for this race here, and I've been like tapering. So
Right.
my body has a little bit of like, bruises and things, for running, the 375 miles. Yeah. So, but yeah, for the most part, a lot I have recovered, a lot, given all that. So, we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll just do my very best, and that's how it is.
Yeah. So now you said you were plant-based, so you're vegetarian but not vegan, or are you vegan now?
So I'm actually vegan.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So
I during the race, I don't like, eat. I eat a lot of unhealthy vegan foods, like, chips and, um, vegan mac and cheese and things like that. But during the rest of the time, like when I'm striving to recover, I'm eating, more healthy things. And, yeah, it definitely has an influence, I feel, in terms of my recovery time.
so what is your go-to, like in bad water, for example, what is your go-to fuel to is there something that you have a crew there, and so you don't really have to carry much with you. You can get it,
Right.
you meet up. So
Yeah.
what's the go-to vegan fuel for you on the road?
Sure. Well, with Badwater, it's a different style race because it's so hot. So being that it's like 120 degrees, your body doesn't really do great, digesting like solids. So I will like I would drink a lot of my calories. So I have like Tailwind, and I also have like coconut water, and, um, the sweet tea, and Coca-Cola, and Dr. Pepper, and mango juice, and, aloe juice, and root beer,
Do
and
you like
ginger ale.
do you like cold fruit?
I do have cold fruit. So like I'll like do like, I'll do squeezable like chia seed, like fruit, and then I'll also like have watermelon, and, like some sort of puddings will be great. Um, Sometimes I'll do like, mashed potatoes, like a vegan mashed potatoes that are mixed with vegetable broth, and like that I can, if it's got enough vegetable broth in it, I can almost like drink it like soup. And that is, it might not sound appealing, but it's really good for like,
Yeah.
having a source of like sodium and calories. It's like very good. But yeah, and I also get like some vegan like sweet things from like Whole Foods that I don't normally eat, but it's just like cupcakes, or vegan cupcakes, or vegan muffins. They have these Abe's muffins, and they just have like, they're very high calorie density. Um, I like that. So that's great. In Australia, I had, for the backyard, I mean, I had, some of my favorite things were like, I had, the, avocado toast that was phenomenal. I had, vegan pancakes with, maple syrup, which were amazing. I had, these, veggie wraps, which were phenomenal. Like that was really good. There were, vegan mac and cheese. Um, yeah, there was, oh, so many things I ate.
Now the race was providing that, or that was things that you arranged to have there?
I had a crew member,
Oh,
Sam, came over,
awesome.
he with me, and then there was a local lady, Allison, and her, 13-year-old son Nathan, who were, in the community, that came out and crewed me, and they came up with these really great vegan foods, and I was like, oh my god! So middle of the country in Australia, and I was really surprised. Like their IGA there had like all these vegan options.
Yeah.
So in Mango, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, there was a lot of options out there.
Yeah. Now, as far as shoes go, are you a Newton guy? Is that right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I absolutely love my Newtons. And like they're probably about, one of the lesser known shoes that exist. Uh and they really work well, for like form. Like, so I am like injury resistant. Like I just don't, I'm lucky I don't get injured. But it's partly has to do with my form, and they're just really well made shoes. They're based out of Boulder, Colorado. They're very conscientious towards like the environment. Like they actually use recycled materials in their shoes as well. And I love the gravity, so I'll wear the gravity in bad water, and also like the distance. They're really nice. Um, but even like on the trail, like when I was in Dead Cow Gully, I would wear my road shoes um, in the trail, like the gravity road shoes, because it's not like ridiculously technical and it's just very efficient in terms of my stride. Um, but I also have like or like trail shoes I wore like through the whole Appalachian Trail. And yeah, I love the shoes. They have like the amazing colors. They really pop. And it's a small brand. They really they come up with some really innovative materials, and they're phenomenal.
Yeah. So now are they a minimal drop shoe or do they have regular? Do you know?
No, yeah, they're not, and they're not like they're not, definitely not minimalist shoes, but they're not like Hoka's. You know, they have like a good solid material. They feel very comfortable. Um, they they're they're durable too. Like, I mean, you know, like the vapor flies that people love, that are, you know, people wear that, those shoes last like less than 200 miles. Like,
Right.
you know, my Newtons, they'll last easily, like, you know, I wear them like 450, 500 miles. You could probably wear them more than that, but like definitely over 400 miles, and they're great shoes. Um, so it's especially nice, just they promote positive form.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get kicked out of our conversation, but because I move out of the room to grab some, maybe we'll try it. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Yeah. Carly's going to get upset because I've moved now. So I say, what am I doing? Yeah. So I'm going to grab some of my shoes I had my shoes are kind of dirty, due to the running in the out, or in the country. I was corrected, like when I was there. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going." The race director's parents, they're like, "No, this is not the Outback. This is the country." The Outback is another 6 hours. But yeah, so these are the gravity,
Oh yeah. Those are nice.
and base. Yeah, they're really bright. But they have the lugs on the front of the shoe, which
Mhm.
you are like, when you're landing, you land like very much in the midsole, and you take off in the front. So you know, a lot of shoes kind of like cause people to have knee problems or back problems because they're like landing on their heel versus on the midsole and like going off the front. And these shoes really help to promote positive like form, whether you're running a mile race or a half marathon, or you're running a 100 mile or 375-mile race.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Definitely, I feel they're really good shoes. And they definitely have helped me in the back. Sorry, Carly. They've helped me in the backyard ultras to do very well in them,
Do you
especially the long
change do
distances.
you change shoes a lot during a race? Like
Uh,
like in a
I,
backyard type race?
right. So there's a psychological element to changing your shoe, as well as like a physical. Like, it's nice to get in new shoes. So I don't need to do it, but I actually do. I do it as like a reward. So like with the Australian backyard ultra, I did shift shoes, and I would like change shoes like every 100 miles, which I didn't need to change shoes every 100 miles, but I just did it because like it was like a reward.
Yeah.
For backwater, I'll bring like probably 2 pairs of shoes, and I'll probably change my shoes like as an incentive, like somewhere mid race. But again, I don't need to do that. Like it's just like it's sometimes it's like a mental incentive to like to do something like that. And
Yeah.
then with that, the race lasting so long, I mean, a race could go on forever. It's just nice to like shift shoes.
Yeah. So is it true that at Badwater, if you don't run on the stripe, that your rubber will melt on the pavement?
Well, it has happened to some shoe brands, but it's never happened with Newton's.
Not the Newtons. All right.
Newton's, but
Got the right plug in.
yeah,
Probably those vapor flies, right?
probably. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I've taken up probably enough of your time today, Harvey. I could talk all night about running.
It was great chatting with you, and man, I love your story. Yeah, it's so inspiring to see like that you got into like running like you did, and you lost all that weight. I mean, you went from like what weight to what weight?
I was I think my biggest was 281, maybe 285, and then right now I weigh about 189. I got down to 168. When I started running ultras, I put a little weight back on.
Right.
When I was
That's
doing all road races, I haven't figured that. I hired a nutrition coach at one point, and I was pretty much not vegetarian, but I only ate poultry and fish. And
mm,
she cut out the red meat, but I just could not keep that discipline. And I felt like I was not making gains because I wasn't eating. It got to where the food wasn't tasting good for me. So I'm
right,
kind of in one of those phases where I need to eat enough calories to be able to continue to gain from my training. And so
definitely.
figuring out that process, because I still have some, I'm 5'6", so I probably need to be about 160 to be
Mm.
at my best for running long distances.
It helps your knees and your joints a lot. I mean, everything, your back, all those things are benefited by keeping on top of it. It's but that's a huge, I mean, such a amazing achievement to go to lose 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have felt like you must feel like 10 times better.
Right. I mean, I used to literally be out of breath tying my shoe, and now, I can run 100 miles and breathe. Okay.
Yeah, that's really incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, someone right here is about ready to go for a run.
I hear that.
Yeah, she's ready.
Yeah.
But congratulations with that, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully down at Long Haul.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks again for joining, and you have a wonderful night.
Hey, definitely cheers, Marty.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.